Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. My name is Jeff Pearson. I'm your host, and we created this show. We created for everybody. We want everybody with an invisible condition, no matter what that condition is, no matter how long you have been living with it, no matter what it is, to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you have a community, and you're not alone. And to that end, I have an amazing guest today. Her name is Gilda Evans, and Gilda, as a single mom of three, the youngest son being a child with autism, she's obviously passionate about helping others that are, in similar situations, other families that are facing this. And after navigating through schools, regional centers, government offices, all the things, she recognized the necessity for a central knowledge hub where people can come and get answers, which is such a big deal. I love this. So she founded the Autism Resource Project, ARP, and that provides a reliable community resource where people, whether you're neurodivergent or supporting somebody who is, or anything along those lines, can find answers from trusted professionals and sources. So that's huge. I wish there was more resources like this for other conditions too, because this is just awesome. In addition to finding ARP, Gilda is also the host of the Autism Resource Podcast, which is really cool. And which is an award-nominated, she's an award-nominated producer and a passionate sushi lover. We have that in common. I'm so excited. I love sushi. Okay. I know some people think, where's the real food? But I love that stuff. All right. Oh, Gilda, thank you so much for being here. I forgot about the sushi thing. That's awesome.
Yeah. What's your favorite? What's your favorite sushi, Jeff? Which one?
I am a crab and lobster junkie. I absolutely love. I know they're bottom dwellers, and people talk about like they're the scavengers of the sea or whatever, but I don't care. It's so yummy. I'm not a huge fan of sashimi, but I love sushi. I'm not a raw kind of guy, but that's only a little bit of it. What about you?
I love the eel, the freshwater eel. That's my favorite.
I just don't think I've tried it where maybe I haven't found the right one. That's still not on my go-to list. So maybe I don't know. Of course, depending on the part of the country. So we're in Colorado. We're landlocked. We don't get good seafood anywhere ever. So maybe if I try it somewhere on the coast somewhere, it'll be better.
Yeah, well, you got to come out here to California and try it here.
There you go. Yeah, where they do it fresh instead of frozen. Put it on a truck, drive it somewhere, and then yeah. There you go. I'll have to do that. I hear that a lot. So, oh man. Well, okay. All right. So we could talk about sushi all day long. That's not what we're here for. All right. So you, I want to start here. What were some of we're talking about autism today, right? So, and your son is kind of the inspiration behind all of this, right? So what were some of the initial things that you started to see in your youngest son that you said, something's not right, we got to figure this out? And then if you don't mind me asking, how old is he now and how's he doing?
He's doing great. He was first diagnosed at 3. He's 26 now.
Wow.
And
awesome.
Excuse me. Yeah, he's doing fantastic. But when he was little, I noticed his issues are not intellectual at all. They're mostly pragmatic and expressive and social. And when he was little, I noticed that he wasn't really interacting with the other kids the way they were interacting with each other. And he would kind of stay around the periphery of the play area. And I noticed that his eye contact was different than, some of the other kids, and, some of the other things signs that could indicate a neurodivergence is present. And so I went and I had him tested, diagnosed, and sure enough, they came back with a diagnosis of autism. And so I I can continue with the story, but if there's a specific question that you'd like me to answer right now,
No, I was just curious, like, yeah, how it, because that can be. I mean, I've talked to people that it took, it was subtle enough. Was it Asperger's? Was it autism? Was it something else? And it was subtle enough that it took years to finally diagnose. So I just wanted to see kind of how it went for you. Because some journeys down that road are shorter and easier than others.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is it's very common for males to be diagnosed much sooner than females, because females are very good at imitating and at what we call masking. So I mean, I've heard it over and over and over again where some women are not diagnosed until they're in their 20s, 30s, even 40s, sometimes even beyond. And yet they've always known their whole life that there's been something different about them, that they communicate differently, they respond differently, they have sensory issues, they have other things going on. Yet there was never any real attention paid in terms of what specifically their challenges were and what supports they needed in order to deal with their differences and their challenges and so forth. And when they finally get that diagnosis, it's like a whole weight that lifts off their shoulders, and it's just this aha moment. Like, oh my God, that explains so much. So yeah, it's very interesting, but a very common phenomenon.
It is. It's way too common, honestly. I've noticed it it's gotten more common. So it's kind of crazy. This is which is why I'm glad we're addressing it, because there's so many families in the US, and I don't know about it. I don't know about around the world. Maybe you know more about the stats around the world, but I'm guessing the United States is concentrated a little more. Is that fair?
I can tell you that I think it was last year, according to the CDC here in the United States, 1 in 30 gets newly diagnosed with autism every year. That's an enormous population.
It is.
And I think back in 2021, the figure was something like 70 million plus worldwide that they know about with the diagnosis of autism. And, that doesn't include any of the other neurodivergent diagnoses. That doesn't include physical disabilities. So when you factor those in, I mean, you're talking about a huge percentage of the population.
Yeah. I mean, that's a monster percentage of population, especially worldwide. I had no idea it was that big worldwide. I knew it was large in the United States. I had no idea it was that big in the rest of the world. That's unbelievable. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So with your son being diagnosed young, how talk about navigating the education system, because I know that must have been a challenge.
Oh, definitely. I mean, unfortunately, things are more or less geared towards saying no, or putting you in the position of having to fight for every support that your child needs. And even getting into what they call the special education system here can be a battle. Requesting what's called an IEP, or an individual education plan for your child. I know so many people whose children are less impacted than some of the more severely impacted children out there, and were denied an IEP, even though they very desperately needed one. So it's a matter of being persistent and not taking no for an answer, and absolutely insisting that your child get the support that they need. I mean, time and time again, I went to battle. Time and time again, I was presented with an IEP that I refused to sign until it was the way I wanted it to be. And I remember requesting something from the particular school that my child was in, and them coming back to me and saying, well, we've never done that. We've never supported a child in that way before. And my response to that was, well, then this will be the first time.
Yeah. And yeah.
And they did. And they did.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been my response too. It's like, and
yeah.
You know, what are you telling me? That's still not a no, you know.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's always first time, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. There's got to be a first time for everything.
Yeah.
So that reminds me of I don't even remember what comic strip it is or where it came from or how long it's been around, but there's that, it's like a one frame comic and it's got the picture with the teachers lined up on this side. And then there's like an elephant and a penguin and a bird and a child and a monkey and and all these different things lined up. And there's a tree behind them. And it said, okay, your final exam is climb the tree, and it's like, well, okay, but that doesn't work for all of
right.
Like that elephant's going to fail, but it's the same. It's cookie cutter, and all these different things are supposed to cater to that one system, and that just doesn't work. And I think we're catching on to that now a little bit, but we're not there yet.
It's still a battle. And not only fighting with schools, but with, the government offices and with the regional center system here in California. And whoever else, you have to fight with to get your kid what they need. You just go to battle and you do it. Unfortunately, there are a lot of parents that, aren't quite that vociferous or, are much too easily take no for an answer. And it's unfortunate, which was one of the reasons that I was motivated to create the podcast, because the podcast is actually what came first. There it is. Thank you.
There it is. Let's get it up there now that we're talking about it. Yeah. So, So by the way, everybody, this podcast, if you want any information about it, there's a place to contact you on there too, I think, isn't
Correct.
there?
There's a contact form. Yeah.
Yep. And so I try to make it easy, guys. All you got to do is scan the QR code and you are in. So go check it out. It's really easy to find the contact page. And if you have any questions at all during this entire show, this is your contact right here. She's going to be with us for another 40 minutes. Take advantage of it, and use that QR code. So we'll just leave that up there. So
all right. Awesome.
Yeah, let's just leave it up there, man. Nobody will have any excuse not to. I didn't hear about that. Yes, you did. It's right there. So
while it's up there, if you like, I'm happy to explain to people how the Autism Resource Podcast came about.
Sure, go for it. Yeah,
unless you had another question you wanted to address first.
No, let's do it. Yeah.
Right. Well, so as I said, my son's 26 now. He was first diagnosed at 3. And I remember that feeling so vividly when I first got that diagnosis. It's like being out in the ocean, in the middle of the ocean, treading water with no land in sight, no idea what direction to swim in, right? And it's overwhelming, it's anxiety producing, it's fearful, and all these questions are running through your head. Well, who do I call? Where do I go? How do I apply? Who do I ask? And you have a question and you're told to call XYZ people, and you do, and then you also call ABC, with the same question. And so you
get different answers. Right.
And you get different answers from everybody, no idea which one is right, if any of them are right. Right?
Yeah.
And so you end up right back where you started. And the one that ends up suffering the most, of course, is the child, because they're not getting the supports that they need. And I watched all the other parents around me in similar situations going through the same thing and the same frustration and anxiety and reinventing the wheel time after time after time.
Yeah.
And so about 4 or 5 years ago, I had this epiphany and I thought, okay, why for this huge population, and we talked about that earlier, right? How enormous this population is. Why is there no central knowledge and resource base for all these people, for a parent, a caregiver, a service provider, an educator, an individual themselves, where they can go and have a question and at least find the beginnings of what direction to start swimming in, right?
Right.
At least in the beginnings of an answer, because knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, it doesn't exist. Everything's scattered all over the place. Everything, you've got to call all these people or go to all these different websites or check out all these different publications, and it's again, and it's overwhelming. And you have to be a detective, to try and track something down. And I'll tell you, when you're a parent of a child, let alone, a neurodivergent child, you don't have time to be a detective.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, there's got to be a way to make this journey easier than it was for me. And so the central knowledge and resource base that I was talking about just didn't exist back then. So I thought, okay, well, I guess it's up to me. I guess I'll have to make it exist. And I think I'll create a podcast.
Nice.
Because, it's minimal bandwidth, easily accessible. You can listen to it anywhere.
Yeah.
And they're very popular. So hence the Autism Resource Podcast was born. It wasn't always called the Autism Resource Podcast, but that's what it's called now. And I just remember starting it, 4 or 5 years ago, and just begging people, oh, please come on my podcast. It's such a good idea. It's going to help so many people. And now, 130 plus episodes later, I am truly honored and privileged to say that it has grown into and is continuing to grow into the knowledge and resource base that I envisioned it to be. Chances are at this point, if you go there and you search for a particular topic, whether it's IEPs or education or behavioral therapy or executive functioning or whatever it happens to be, there will be at least one episode that pertains to that topic that will come up for you to listen to. And by the way, my guests, they're all vetted professionals, people who are very knowledgeable in their particular field. And I have them all give their contact information at the end of the episode.
Awesome.
So if you have questions, if you want to know more information about it, you have a way to reach out to them.
Which is huge. Otherwise, what are you doing it for? I mean, you got to have a way to contact them. Otherwise, it's kind of just in the wind,
Yeah.
So that's great. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm excited to talk more about that. Right now, is a really good time to take a break. So I feel like there's a break in a conversation here in a way that we can we're gonna go do a commercial or two and make some sponsors happy, and then we will be right back, and then we will dive into a little bit more about what the Autism Resource Project is doing and the podcast and all the things. So we're gonna jump right back into that as soon as we come back from this break. Nobody go anywhere. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
All right.
Does your to-do list have you feeling stressed? Does your list include tasks like responding to email and phone calls, collecting forms and paperwork, and sending quotes and invoices? Have you been neglecting posting updates to your social media accounts, email newsletters, or content on your website? Maybe you need help to get digitally organized. I'm Selena, one of the owners at Office Mercenary, and we're a US-based virtual assistant agency. We can take care of all of these tasks and more so you can get back to focusing on the things you love about your business. Our team is happy to work with you and your individual needs. So schedule a call with us, bring your to-do list, and stop doing the tedious tasks.
The Club eFit Home Portable Gym System is a groundbreaking new system that can help everyone at any fitness level. You can be the happy, fit person you always wanted to be, and Club eFit can make that happen by helping you get the body you deserve in the time you can spare. With workouts ranging from cardio, core, to total body toning, it's easy to get started. Start taking care of you today. To make the change, go to clubefit.com now.
Hi there, I'm Dawn Livingston, your host on the Transcend and Succeed show. Join me Fridays at 2 p.m. Central for limitless inspiration and ways to help you transcend your limitations. Tune into the Achieve TV network and the Voyage to Vitality channel. Transcend and Succeed show, right here on A360 TV.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for being here, Gilda. This is awesome. Autism is one of those things that everybody knows about, but nobody knows enough about, like everybody, I feel like everybody knows somebody that's been impacted with it, especially as frequent as it occurs, but
Yeah.
nobody knows what to do about it, and nobody knows what to do with, like, you meet somebody that's clearly, on the spectrum, and you sometimes you just don't know what to, it's like, well, what do I do? So there's definitely a space for education. And I think you're doing an awesome thing with your podcast and the Autism Resource Project. So let's talk about a little bit more about the importance of, you talked about it the first segment, there was resources, but they were everywhere. They were all over the place, and you had to pick from over here and then pick from over there, and then maybe there was one there. And how long did it take you to get all that centralized like that? And tell us a little bit more about that if people are looking for stuff.
Well, like I said, I started the podcast about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's definitely been a passion project for me. And something that I've been working on for a while to build it to the state that it is now. And like I said, it's continuing to grow. It's the sort of thing where, like I said, there are so many questions that come up, in terms of how do I apply, or how do I get, or is this right for my kid, or how do I find out more? So those are the kinds of questions that the episodes address for the various topics, so that a parent of a child, let's say, who is newly diagnosed and is really wondering and asking questions and confused and overwhelmed, again, can find some very pertinent, salient information that might help set them on the right path for their particular child, because every child is different.
Yep.
The old saying, you meet one person with autism, you met one person with autism. That's absolutely 100% correct. Because everyone that is on the autism spectrum, and I have something that I'll share with you about my own personal philosophy about that particular idiom. But everyone presents differently. Everyone has a different challenge, or a different level of impact. And well, I'll share it with you now, because it really addresses the question that you pose, like, well, okay, so I've met someone with autism, what do I do? In my opinion, labels are helpful because they serve to shorthand language. So if we say autism, you may not know specifically what a particular person that you're meeting has to deal with in terms of their particular way they present, or particular challenges they might be facing. but you have an overarching view, right? Sort
Right.
of a general idea.
Yeah.
So that, that's okay. But I'm kind of hopeful that at some point in the future, terms like the autism resource spectrum will become more or less moot or a thing of the past, because in my opinion, we are all part of the human spectrum. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, where do you vibrate? Are you infrared? Are you visible? Are you ultraviolet?
Right. Yeah.
Where are you along that spectrum? Because face it, we all have our shtick, right? We all have our faults and our foibles and our little idiosyncrasies.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of finding out where that other person vibrates and meeting them on their level and finding out how you can support them, or what kind of communication method they prefer, or what their sensory issues might be, and doing your best to accommodate that. That's so to answer to your question, that's really what you do. It's just about, that discovery process, just the same way you would discover things about anyone you might meet.
It's true. And the biggest, most glaring example that I think of is when, and I've done it, you've done it, everybody's done it. You watch, you're parked in this supermarket parking lot or whatever, and you watch somebody pull into the handicap spot, right? And somebody jumps out of the car and walks into the supermarket and comes back out with their cart and loads their groceries in, gets in, drives away. And you look at that and you go, was that person really handicapped? Is that really, what just happened there? Did they take their friend's car that had the handicap tag so they could park closer? I mean, it's human nature, right? They jump to conclusions. And that's what I have learned over the years is you never, like you're talking about, you never know what somebody's full story is.
Mm-hmm.
So diving in and learning a little bit first is always okay, no matter what you think that person might be living with. Maybe that person that did that at the supermarket has a autoimmune condition that lands them on the couch 9 times out of 10, and this was their 1 hour maybe of the day that they felt good, so they went to the store.
Right. Like you say, you never know. It could be an invisible condition that you have no idea about.
Right. So that's, I think that is a huge thing that I feel like we're getting better at that as a whole. But I've definitely seen the other side of that coin too. So we got some work to do. we got plenty of work to do still.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's crazy. So what advice would you give to like a parent or a caregiver or something that might be feeling, maybe they just found out about the diagnosis of something, or maybe they've been at it for a while and they're just exhausted, or, what would, if you walked up to somebody and you knew that was the story, what would be the first thing you'd tell them?
Well, first thing I would say is, the earlier you can get a diagnosis, the better. Because once you have an idea about what your child needs and the different supports that might help them deal with whatever it is they're dealing with, the better it is, because it makes their journey that much easier, whether, it be through school, whether it be with friends, whatever it happens to be. There are a lot of different evaluation techniques. One of the most comprehensive is a neuropsychiatric evaluation that you can have done, which covers a lot of territory. The other thing I would say is, trust your instinct. If you feel like something is off and your child is having difficulty in an area, or something just isn't right, your child better than anybody else. So don't let anybody tell you, no, they're fine.
Right.
So follow your instinct.
Yeah.
And get that evaluation, talk to, a professional. And if you're not getting the kind of feedback you feel comfortable with, then go get another opinion.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just
100%.
right. And the other thing is be persistent, right?
Yeah.
Don't take no for an answer.
Right.
If you feel that your child needs something and somebody tells you, sorry, that's just not the way we do it, or, that's, that's not something we've done before, then, again, you just say, well, then this will be the first time, or let's figure out a way to make this happen together, because that's what my kid needs.
Right.
Those are really the most, I think, important things to keep in mind when you're in a position where you're looking for the right kind of support for your child.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
When you're talking to families that are finding this out, is your experience that they're, I think I know the answer to this, but I want to get it. I want to hear it anyway. Because I have a theory on this too, but when they find out, okay, I'm diagnosed with XYZ, maybe it's not just autism, maybe it's autism plus this, whatever, with that testing that you were talking about, is that, in your experience, is that more of a relief, or is that more of a anxiety causing thing to find out, oh my gosh, now we have to deal with this? Or is it more, oh, thank God, now we understand,
Yeah. That's an interesting question, because I found that people that I talk to, when they get that diagnosis for a young child, it tends to be very anxiety producing, because all these questions again are running through your head, because you feel a responsibility for taking care of that child, for making sure they have what they need and the supports that they need and so forth.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily anxiety producing for the child, but it is for the parent. But once they start getting the kinds of supports that they need, and once they see their child responding and thriving and really doing well, then it does become a relief. Whereas when an older person who gets, let's say, a diagnosis later in life, their first reaction generally tends to be relief, because oh my God, that explains so much.
Right. That explains the last 30 years perfectly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it really depends. It's just kind of a case by case basis.
That makes sense. It kind of reminds me of what, it might be a loose comparison, but the difference, but kind of like when like with discipline for children, like when they're little, you gotta set up boundaries, right? Mm-hmm. But they can go anywhere they want within those boundaries, but the boundaries are still there, right? So and that actually opens up, that's almost freedom, it's like it's more freeing depending on the child. It's like, oh, okay, now I know what's expected. I know I know what we're doing now. Now I can operate freely within these boundaries, versus, not knowing where to go. That's almost more overwhelming, when that's not there. So I imagine similar to that, like once you get that diagnosis, it's like, okay, now we know the rules of the game,
Yeah. And by the way, it's very, very common for an autism diagnosis to be accompanied by a whole series of comorbidities. In fact, it's more common than not. It's very interesting, because very often these comorbidities will present themselves at different times in the person's growth. For example, with my son, they onset with puberty. So that whole journey, as the brain is rewiring and the hormones are starting to flow and all these changes are happening. In my son's case, he onset with dysgraphia and selective mutism and Tourette syndrome and severe OCD. Along with the autism. So it was, such a challenging period for him to get through it. He did, once he got to the other side of puberty, and also, I credit him with his own determination and intelligence and stick-to-itiveness, and he really was determined to get to the other side, and he did, and he's doing great now. But when you're in the middle of it, and so I'll say that to parents as well, if you may be, going through that dark period when you're trying to figure things out, and when there are changes happening, and you will surface. You will come out the other side.
Yeah.
It may take some time, and it may take a lot of trial and error in terms of what helps and what doesn't help and so forth. But don't give up, because you will get there. Yeah.
That's probably the most important thing, is please don't give up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that is, it's like the minute you give up is like, that's when it's like right there most of the time, right? It's you're so close.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It's easy, I tell you. Well, I'll tell you what, we're at another good spot for a break. This is the last one, and then we'll come back, and we're gonna I kind of want to ask you. Well, first of all, I've been writing stuff down that I keep thinking of resources for you guys. My brain has just been reeling. So anybody out there that's thinking, hey, I think I know who she should talk to, put that in the chat too, because we'd love to. We want this to grow. This organization needs to grow, because it's doing so much cool stuff.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the Autism Resource Project, because that's going to increase the amount of resources that we have available by leaps and bounds. So
exactly,
when we come back.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. Everybody stick around. We're going to talk about that when we come back. And then we'll have more, we'll put that on the screen so you can get in touch with everybody. And don't go anywhere. We'll see you in just a couple of minutes.
Hi, I'm Jake, co-founder and CEO of One Hope. My friends and I started this company in 2007 out of the back of this truck on a mission to enrich people's lives through wine. Today, we've grown into a state-of-the-art Napa Valley winery that proudly houses a portfolio of award-winning wines which have touched lives through over 40,000 nonprofits at home and around the globe. And it's happening every day. Being rooted in local communities and contributing to initiatives that uplift neighborhoods, celebrate cultures, and promote community. It's what got us here. You see, through every bottle sold, your purchase can make a direct impact on the causes you care about. One Hope's cause of choice has given back over $10 million and counting.
Eva Black Occurrence here, and I am the host of One Punch Superstars, where we meet real people who chose to fight for their hopes and their dreams and become the champions of their destiny. You can find us on Achieve TV every Tuesday and Wednesday at noon Mountain Standard Time, right here on E360 TV.
back, everybody. Man, yeah, I can't. As I said before the break, my wheels are turning, man. We're gonna might need to have another call or something so we can go over some of these. But oh my gosh, there have been so many amazing people that even just people that we've known from having them on the show that I can't wait to connect you with. So it's
Bring it on. That's the name of the
just so
game.
cool. Yeah, I know, right? Bring it on. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, I feel the same way. All right, here we go. I'm gonna pop that back up on there. And is there, I'm sorry, this is the QR code that we've got up here, but this has you can access the resource center from there.
Well, actually, okay, let me tell you. This is the podcast website. So
Yes.
This is where you can find those 130 plus episodes.
Yeah.
And it's also where you can reach out to me. There's a contact form. So if you want to fill that out and, send it over, there's a contact form you can fill out and it'll come to us. The Autism Resource Project is a nascent 501c3 that is coming into being as we speak. I'll tell you a little bit about the background. So after I started the podcast, as it continued to grow, last year I had this other epiphany and I thought, okay, well, the podcast is there. It's viable. It's growing. It's happening. And now it's not enough. I've got to do more. But wait, there's more.
Right? But wait, there's more.
That's right. And so I put an amazing board of directors together, and I have to do a shout out to them because without my board, there's no way that this could be happening. And
awesome.
And I'll name them, and I hope I don't forget anybody because they'll be mad. But Debbie Carlitz and Chris Cope and Chris Monaco and Patrick Rood and Chris Latham and Jack Durachian and Ryan Denich. And I don't think I've left anybody out. And if I have, I've please forgive me. But again, this could not be happening without them. But what we are doing is with the Autism Resource Podcast as the fulcrum, we are creating the Autism Resource Project. And along with the podcast, that is going to add 24/7 online resource accessible and not only anywhere in the nation, but anywhere on the planet. You are going to be able to access, in addition to the podcast, a library of hard to find articles and resource materials and guides, webinars, educational features, that sort of thing. You will be able to also access a community network that will have a Reddit-like feature where people can communicate and ask questions and exchange information in real time. But it will also have a calendar. So if you happen to be in Iowa somewhere, or eventually perhaps in France or in Germany or wherever you happen to be, you will be able to access a calendar that will tell you if any events or conferences or interesting things are going on in your area that you might be able to access. Nice. There will also be a marketplace that will be geared specifically toward the neurodiverse and disabled communities. So let's say you're looking for a book on autism, or you're looking for adaptive clothing for your child with cerebral palsy, or you're looking to make an appointment with a behavioral therapist, or whatever it is, adaptive toys. You'll be able to go onto the marketplace and hopefully find what you're looking for. And if you can't, let us know and we'll find the item and add it to the marketplace, because it's going to be an ongoing, dynamic, living, breathing process as we grow this resource. And we are so very excited about it because right now it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't really exist. But we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to take all of those amazing resources that are out there and bring them together in one easily accessible location. And
amazing. And what's it's Autism Resource Project.org?
It will be autismresourceproject.org. Correct.
Is it live now? Like if I put that up on the screen, would people be able to go there and see anything, or is it still kind of
not quite yet? There might be a placeholder page up there, but our developers are working very, very hard, and hopefully within the next week or two.
I think I see it right here. I'm at the page right now. I went to the page right now. It says ARP, Autism Resource Project, coming soon. Please visit Autism Resource Podcast, and then there's a little little contact form that you can fill out. So yeah.
So cool. And if you fill out that contact form, by the way, and give us your email address, we will let you know when the full-blown website goes live.
Nice. Okay, so I'm going to put that up there because there is a way to contact you through it. There's not much there,
right?
But this will point you back to the podcast too, which is awesome.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes right now, and once we launch the initial site, it will continue to grow. It's not going to have every feature will not be live and available at first launch, but we will continue to add the features as we move along.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love it. And I love that it's linking kind of back and forth between the two, because that's perfect. That's how it should be. So yeah, that's beautiful. All right. I have a question that I have a question that I ask everybody that comes on the show because I love hearing the answer. There's no wrong answer. I love listening to all of them. It's awesome. So I'm going to ask you. So throughout your life with your son, with the project and the podcast and all the things, every day hasn't been easy, obviously. During those times that it was tough, that it continues to be tough sometimes, how do you find hope?
Oh, well, that again is a very good question. And it's not only what I mentioned earlier about persistence and determination and not giving up, even though that's a lot easier said than done sometimes. But my personal inspiration comes from the model of my father, who was a Holocaust survivor.
Oh, wow. And,
I think about what he went through. He had a wonderful sense of humor. He used to like to say, yeah, I spent 2.5 years in some of the best camps in Europe. But that was my dad. He could take lemons and make lemonade all day long.
Awesome.
When I think about what he went through, and the horrors that he saw, and I mean, his attitude was, if one person survives this whole horrible ordeal, it's going to be me. And when I think about that, and like I said, and what he went through, and then perhaps think about my current situation and what I happen to be going through at that moment, I think, well, this is a piece of cake. Comparatively speaking, wow, all right, no problem, let's go.
Yeah.
It's all it puts everything in perspective, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's huge. So he was in concentration camps for 2.5 years?
Yeah, he was in the camps and in the ghetto for a while, and the camps, and they moved him around. He was at Auschwitz-Birkenau. He's one of the few people who actually was given the job of handing out the soap and towels as people. Geez. Yeah. Wow. As people walked into the showers.
Oh wow.
And actually lived to tell about it. So
that's incredible. He needs to write a book, or somebody should write a book about his story. That's got to get out there. That's amazing. Holy.
Yeah, he's been written. He did an interview for the Shoah Foundation, and he's been written up in several articles and and things like that. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us in body, but he is still very much with us in spirit. So
Yeah, I bet. Man, what a man. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh man, I get chills just thinking about it. That's fantastic. Oh, what a cool story. I mean, what an attitude. I love that. So, well, I tell you what, we got about, time flies, man. We're already through it. It's been almost an hour. I can't believe it, but we are almost at the end of the show, and I don't want to leave without giving you an opportunity to just, what if in 2 minutes or less, is there something you want to just leave the audience with after our time together?
Yeah, if this mission that we are on with the podcast and the project, if it speaks to you and it's something that you'd like to find out more about, then I encourage you, because we are looking for people to volunteer to help us move along. We are looking for guests for the podcast. We are looking for, of course, people who, if this cause speaks to you and you want to offer a donation of any size and, any shape or form, please let us know. And the best way to let us know is to contact by email. You can either Autism Resource Podcast at gmail.com or Autism Resource Project at gmail.com, either one. And in the subject, just put donation, volunteer, want to know more, whatever it is. You can also fill out the contact form, of course, but if you want a more direct route of communication, you can reach out exactly at that email address. And I promise one of us will get back to you, and we would absolutely love to hear from you.
Awesome. I love it, man. This needs to get out there. Okay, this is great. I'm so glad we were able to. I'm so glad we were able to have you here and get this information out. Thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to. I'm continuously writing stuff down. I can't wait for us to talk later so we can get some of these resources pointed in your direction, because this is a cause that needs to go like huge. So.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for having me on today. It's been an absolute pleasure and a real honor to be here with you today. So
100%.
Again, thanks so much.
The feeling is mutual. It's an honor to meet you and to have you here, and I so appreciate it and love what you're doing. So thank you so much, and we will talk again soon. Don't go anywhere right this minute, though. We'll chat after the show. But yes, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, everybody. Man, see, I tell you, I love it. This is so cool. I love doing this because every time I get to meet somebody so cool and doing such an amazing thing with their cause, it's just great. So, okay, here's your part. If you have a favorite episode, if this is your favorite episode, after you watched it, you said, "Holy cow, I know somebody that could really benefit from seeing this." Share it far and wide. Share it. We'll be on Facebook and YouTube also, as well as E360 TV. That's where we always broadcast to. We're working on getting it out to more platforms, but share the YouTube link, share the Facebook link, and get the word out, man. Because if it's your favorite thing and you really enjoyed hearing about it, whatever the episode is, whatever it is, you're probably not alone. And the second you share it, probably somebody else will go, "Wow, that's cool. I wish I'd have seen this sooner." So, the more the merrier. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And join us for our next show on Tuesday, March 26th. And I will have an amazing week, have an amazing day, and I'll see you then.